Still loading.
I get those goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. The 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, riding right up. I get those goosebumps every time. Every time I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, we can throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Off the mugs, yes sir.
Good evening. And welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC, the fully loaded transfer show. The transfer show that's not fully loaded this summer, I have to say. And yeah, we're going to get into it. I know one or two people are saying, oh, well, why are we doing a full loaded transfer show? Well, this is going to be a little bit different. I think we're going to be assessing more so than talking transfers because of the lack of activity. But before we get into that, boys, how are we on this fine Thursday evening? Aside from football, nice sunny day, things are good. How are you?
Just going to check this 1 sec. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, the Fuck All Transfer Show. Welcome to the Fuck All Transfer Show. How are we feeling? 28 hours to go. Is there still hope? I know a lot of people will answer that in the chat. Not looking good, boys. Not looking good. How am I? Grand. Yeah, it's getting closer to Friday. Tomorrow is Friday. And then I'm going to that Spurs game as well. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to all those new signings. How are you, Chris? Chris is frozen. How are you, Pete?
Yeah, not too bad.
He's deep in thought.
Yeah.
He's thinking
Considering. He'll pop back up in a second. But look, I'm okay. I have to say, on one positive, we're through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Myself and Chris were there on Wednesday evening. Yeah, it was great to be in the away end, great to be in and amongst it again with the away fans. Fantastic as ever. And I have to say, Mr. Dior, obviously Forest fan, content creator, friend of the channel. He did message me when I was driving on the way home, and he said, "Best fans that we've had at the City Ground in the last year." But to be fair, he always says it. He absolutely loves the Newcastle fans there. And I said to him, fair play, because we had some great banter. Look, Chris, I'll let you jump in on this one. Great away end, great atmosphere. Obviously, fantastic to get into the next round, no matter how we did it. But yeah, good night last night, fella.
Oh, mate, brilliant. It was brilliant. Obviously great seeing you. Saw Holly and Dave as well, which was really nice. I enjoyed seeing them, catching up. But yeah, long journey. I didn't get back actually till about 1:45 today. So I stayed over in Nottingham. So yeah, feeling a bit tired today. Long travel this morning. My little girl turns 10 tomorrow, Summer. So we're all excited for that. All excited for that. All getting ready for tomorrow. So that'll be good fun. We're going out for the day. But yeah, really enjoyed the game, SD. The most important thing was the result. I appreciate that at times we weren't quite the Newcastle that we know we can be. But there was spells, and obviously the biggest thing was seeing Sandro back on the pitch, and that was brilliant. Like, you know, especially at the end, the reaction he got, I thought that was brilliant. A few people in the chat as well saying that I'm on the highlights somewhere, so you'll have to tell me where that is. I'll have to go and have a look later. So I look forward to seeing that. But yeah, really, really good. I am really good. Obviously, we'll get into our feelings on the transfer window, and I'm sure all three of us have got an opinion on that. That's a bit of the downside, I would say. But yeah, you're right, Pete. It's been a lovely day today, nice and sunny. And other than the transfer window, I am very, very good. Thank you. And Pete, I know you were talking about how you were, mate. So you may have already covered that. Apologies, my internet went funny.
Yeah. Well, covered myself. Busy day at work as always, but look, I'm all good. Other than that, nearly the weekend, so it's not all bad. And look, let's start with a little bit of positivity. There's not necessarily transfer news. Let's start with some positivity that, you know, we won. We got through to the next round of the cup. Number of players came on and played really, really well. And in particular, this man, and he's been rewarded for his good performance, and maybe others from last season, and it's Tino Livramento. Has been called up. Ben Jacobs tweeted this out earlier, but in fact, it has been confirmed. Tino Livramento has made the England squad, his first ever call up to the senior squad. And look, with all the negativity that we've got at this moment in time, massive props to Tino Livramento. He started as a bit part player for Newcastle United last season. He made himself known to Newcastle United by playing really, really well across a number of games last season. Ultimately, at one point at the back end of the season, became number one, and rightly so. And he is starting number one this season, and has been rewarded for it. So fair play to Tino Livramento. Nick Pope back in the squad, alongside Anthony Gordon, and Kieran Trippier has retired from international football. Let's just briefly cut through that before we get into let's cut through the good stuff before we get to the bullshit. So let's talk about, just really briefly, your thoughts on those boys being called up to the England squad. Daz, what are your thoughts? Tino, Pope, Gordon.
I love a player up to the English national squad. I do. Nothing I love more. I know he deserves it, you know, and he is the future. So absolutely delighted for him. He does well, and delighted that he joined us last summer as well. Because I remember watching him at Southampton before that he got that injury, and he just shone, and then he proved it for us as well. So great thing there. Trips retiring as well. Yeah, he can concentrate on other things like football and playing for Newcastle, and he's shouldn't be going anywhere with the way things are now with our transfer window. So we need him. And we're not going to have any PSR issues by the looks of it either.
Definitely. Yeah, happy with Tino getting picked up for the England squad. Chris, Pope back in as well.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Fully deserved. Really, you could argue, especially off the back of the Euros, taking Tino Livramento wouldn't have been such a bad thing, because we were crying out at one point, you know, for somebody who could adequately play left back. Now, I know Kieran Trippier was playing there, and then Luke Shaw came in, but you know, having someone like Tino Livramento who is equally comfortable on the right and left, I think is massive. I think he's going to have a really big future ahead of him. And let's be honest, that's why we've paid 30 million for him. Because since he's come into the club, all he's done is impress. He's going to be our first choice right back. You know, if not already now, he's going to be in very, very soon, in time to come. And yeah, I've just been majorly impressed with him since he signed. We all desperately wanted him to join the club. He did. Great age, and he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. I think he's fantastic, and it's great for him and his career, but also great for us as a club, because you know, it shows that we're making the right purchases and bringing in young talent like Livramento to the club.
Definitely. Tino Livramento could only be a good thing by playing alongside quality players for the England squad, and well deserved as well. I'm going to come to the super chat, because the super chat will nicely bring us on to this topic. And as well, we'll always prioritize the super chats for your donation to the channel, and we really appreciate it. So Danielle puts,
Thank you, Daniel.
Evening, lads. Long time no see. Hope you're all well. Keep up the great work and don't let this transfer window get you down. And look, Daniel, we really appreciate that comment. And it brings us nicely to the topic. And the reason being is because it's really hard not to get down at this point with 24 hours or just over 24 hours to go after what, in my opinion, has been an absolute shambles of a transfer window for Newcastle United. And I say that, I don't say that lightly. I've held back. I've kept my opinions to the ground to a point. We might have conversations privately, but for me, this transfer window has been an absolute shambles. And I'll tell you why it's been an absolute shambles. Regardless of whether we sign somebody tomorrow or not, it's been a shambles. We have pursued this man for nearly 4 weeks. Okay, Mark Gay. And we've been told on numerous occasions it's close, it's close, it's close, it's getting closer. And then we get this. So Newcastle United, with over 24 hours to go, have now decided to walk away from the pursuit of Mark Gay. And obviously Keith Downey's in detail reported on it. We'd given the money or offered the money that Palace wanted. He's saying the deal is not dead, but it's not looking good. And Paul Mitchell has been desperate to land Eddie Howe's first choice. Now, Craig Hope has reported something similar, saying that the situation is not looking good and that tensions rise. He talks about how all but said it's Gay or nobody. So we've been looking at alternatives, but it's looking like nobody's coming in. And that then rules out the alternative, which has been talked about in the last 24 hours. Mohamed Simikan of Leipzig. There was talks that he was the alternative, but a friend of the channel, Jack Tolbert, talked about earlier on today that he's not going to Newcastle. Al Nassr seems to be the likely destination. And in fact, Fabrice Hawkins has reported that there is agreement in place with the player and they're just finalizing with Al Nassr their 5-year contract and the fee to get him over to the Saudi Pro League. So then this brings us back to the situation. How have we managed to let a whole summer go by? And I'm not talking 4 weeks, I'm talking since the end of May. How have we allowed this whole summer to transpire and we don't sign one single first team ready player for this Newcastle United team, which we've been told is going to be a transformative summer by Darren Eales himself. And on top of that, we've been told that we're going to almost assemble a team that is going to attack the Champions League. How have we got to this point right now with less than 24 hours or 24 hours or so to go when we are not in a position to sign anybody? That is my question right now. So, boys, I want to get your thoughts and feelings on this because I'm not even warmed up. I am not happy at all, and I'm willing to tell how I feel about this whole situation, and we can unpack it a little bit more. So, look, Daz, Chris, share with me your thoughts, man. What's
loaded on cut? Yeah. Okay, let's bring it back. Eddie was the main one in charge. There was Amanda and Mirdad. They departed. Then Paul Mitchell came in. Then forget everything maybe that happened before that. Let's say the clean slate and they move forward then and they say, who do you want, Eddie? And Eddie says Mark Gay. We were alerted to Mark Gay on the 30th of January by Sean Casey, and he was the first one to bring it. Journalists we had on here didn't know anything about it. So that information was correct. We pursued him then all summer. Where is our plan B? Who lets Eddie just focus on one player and not even consider other options to that? When we're talking Mark A for a second, like the number of bids went in. rejected, or however it played out in the background. You get a sense of it from journalists, but however it played out. But like he's been playing for them the last couple of games, every game. And if he had got an injury in any of those games, where's our plan B then? Who's our second option? There should have always been a second option. There should have come a point in time and a cutoff point in monetary terms as well, where enough is enough. Let's go for plan B. And there's plenty of plan Bs out there that could do a job for us at right centre back as well. There mightn't be exactly tick every box that Eddie wants, but they'll take 5 out of 6. So why not? So that's on the Mark A thing, right? Move aside from right centre back. If that's all and Keith Downey has come out right before the show as well in his video saying that that's all Eddie wants for a right centre back. Right, let's park right centre back. Maybe we muddle through the season, or at least till January with what we have. I know we have a lot of injuries, and we're going to have Botman coming back at that time as well. Maybe the Cells, I don't know as well. But then switch your attention. Okay, if this right centre back doesn't work out, everyone knows we need a right winger as well. Let's put all our eggs in a right winger. Have an option lined up there. Come to that cutoff point, all on a right winger, and we even bring in a loan of a centre back to get us through the rest of the season. So that'd be an alternative plan B by changing position. So, and there's nothing to say that they don't have something like that in place, and it's very, very top secret that no one has any inkling of it at all. But it's probably unlikely at this stage. But back to your original question, Pete. Who's making these decisions? Who's given the power to one person to alone in that? Surely it has to be a group decision. And to just have put all your eggs into one basket, and in Mark A, who was playing games, who could have picked up an injury. I know it's the rumor, the story is that the guy that they did buy got the injury, so then they can't let Mark A go, or they up the price again. But Mark A could have been the one injured. Where was our plan B then? That's my point. And that plan B could be another centre back or a right winger. And even Shearer came out himself saying we need a big signing. It doesn't have to be the massive world star, but we need something to we have money to spend. And as you said, Darnell says transformative. We'll always spend what we can. We're sitting on a whole pile of cash now, and not being able, not having even going after it, not having that it looks like it, not having the research done, or a lot of the groundwork done on an alternative. And another thing, now you start me. Another thing is, what's Steve Nixon doing for like, what's his job now? Because he's been there for years, and I know he's identified players in the past, but surely he has names, alternatives, that as well as it doesn't have to be all Paul Mitchell. Like, there's a lot of people there that have nothing to show for it, and 28 hours left.
Super chat, just to carry on what you're saying, Daz.
Cheers,
keep
Peter.
Going. Only option Gay, because Eddie's obsession with Premier League players, Premier League ready players. Why?
This is what
player.
Exactly. Look, this is what we said at the end of last season when we were starting to. We're talking about being ruthless, and he has to. Now we did offload Richie and Dummett, great service to the club. He has cleared the decks a bit. They could do a bit more of that, but you know you have to work within financial fair play, so you can't do it all in one go. Or is it just that he doesn't want to let players go either? But we also said that Eddie has to get Europe. We actually said Eddie has to get Champions League this season, like top 4, top 5. And if Eddie doesn't get top 4, top 5 this season, is he going to be here next season? Is this and it all comes round to his putting all those eggs in the one basket on one player and on one man who could have picked up any kind of an injury. Well, I'll stop there for now. I'll go back to you, Peter. Let Chris have his say.
Chris, Daz made some very, very valid points there, talking about the whole situation with regards to the window, with regards to the recruitment, with regards to the amount of players that have been almost kind of put forward. And this is only our opinion because this is what we've been presented with over the course of the summer. And let's be honest, us as a channel and many other channels and other people on social media, we've been tracking this the whole summer. So this is everything that we've been like presented with. And these are the examples that we've got. How are you feeling right now with regards to the situation? The fact that with 24 hours to go, we've got nobody that we're targeting as an alternative. Our one only target that's been for the last 4 weeks is now looking like it's not going to happen. We look undercooked for the season because we haven't got players in. What are your thoughts, man? I'm fuming right now. I'm absolutely fuming. And things could change. I'm fuming at this situation. And I think every Newcastle fan is, and we have a right to be. Tell me how you're feeling.
Same, mate. I genuinely, I kind of went on a mini rant. You probably saw it on the Top Table talk earlier in the week, and yeah, I just think it's been a shit show. If I'm honest, being honest, I just think it's pathetic what's gone on. I really, really do. And the more time has elapsed, and the more closer we've come to the window. I've been like convincing myself. I've seen things on X. I saw it yesterday, and it was weird. I was on my way to Nottingham yesterday for the match. And it was weird. I saw these Simicon rumours, and anyone who saw me on X yesterday, and it was so strange because I was so deflated, so defeated, looking forward to the game. But in terms of transfers, I was just like, nah, not going to happen. Not going to happen. That Simicon deal will not happen. It just felt too good to be true. And lo and behold, it looks like it's right. I struggle to put into words like how I feel about this window because we've made a couple of decent signings. Like, you know, I'm pleased with the Sule and I'm pleased with Lloyd Kelly. But it goes back to your point that you said at the start, Pete, when you said, how disappointed are you that we've not brought any first team ready players in? And that's the kicker. That's the problem. I've been saying to my mates over the past few weeks, months, I've been convinced. They've all been saying to me, you're not getting anyone, you've got no money, you're skint, blah, blah, blah. And I've been going, no, you're talking rubbish. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that's the case. But whoever's put this transfer strategy together, you can blame Mitchell, you can blame Nixon, you can blame Howe, you can blame Eels, whoever you want to blame. Someone, I think I said this on Tuesday, someone's got to get a bollocking for this. Somebody has to, because it's not good enough. It's simply not good enough. You look around at all the clubs and everyone was going, oh, don't worry, Liverpool haven't strengthened, Liverpool haven't done anything. Even Liverpool are getting players now. And it's like, we're going to be one of the only clubs who don't bring in that stellar signing. And if we're trying to believe what the owners have been saying, what PIF have been saying, oh, you know, we're going to go for it this year. You know, we're going to mount a Champions League charge. We want to be number one. How can you be number one when you're signing players like John Ruddy? No disrespect, but if you're serious about being challenging at the top end of the table, you need to sign one or two as a minimum upgrades on positions. Now, it's blatantly obvious to not just any Newcastle fan, but any neutral fan. Where do Newcastle need players? They need a centre-back. That was obvious because obviously we've lost Share for a couple of games. Lascelles is injured. Botman's injured. Dummett's gone. So we knew we were a little bit light, and we know we haven't got Lascelles till next year. So we knew that we probably needed a centre-back. So, you know, thinking, yes, we brought Lloyd Kelly in, but I think predominantly he was more to like cover the left back position. Yes, he can play in the centre, which is great. But ever since we were linked to Mark Gay, it was like, right, okay, all right, Mark Gay, so be it. I was uncomfortable with the price. I think I've said that for a while now. The more the price was creeping up, I was getting more and more uncomfortable with it. And we knew that we needed a right winger. We've been saying this now for God knows how long. And Daz hit the nail on the head for me before. You know, if you have your one target and it's Mark Gay at centre back, and you don't get Mark Gay, the biggest problem that we've had this window, in my opinion, and this is what should be relayed, you know, to whoever's fault it is. Paul Mitchell, he's come in. Yes, someone in the chat said then he's only had 6 weeks. Correct. But he's not come fresh in off a job he's never done before. He doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I bet you they were having conversations even before he sat down in the seat. So he knows what he's doing. He's experienced. He knows the score. Somebody should have said, right, you know, to Parish, to Glasner, whoever it was, right, this deal gets done by the 10th of August. If this deal isn't done by the 10th of August, we're done. We're gone. We're moving on. And that's what should have happened. But instead, we've pursued it. Whether they thought that it was a bit like, the deal that we did for Anthony Gordon, where Amanda Staveley called the bluff and in the end, Everton folded. Maybe they thought that was going to happen. Maybe they still believe that we will get Mark Gay. But all the signs in the last few days, couple of weeks, are that Palace are standing firm and that Palace do not want to sell him. We know Mark Gay wants to come to the club, or we've got a fairly good idea that he wants to come to the club. But all the signs have been that Palace are standing firm. Keep playing him, as Daz said, the risk of injury, whatever. And Pete, you mentioned, that Palace are probably more than happy to keep Mark Gay, as I'm sure they are. But we've let this drag on far too long, and it needed to come to a point where we go, right, okay, who's having the conversations? Are they not sat around the table? Because I know I would, with my job. I'm not saying I sign people for a living, I don't, but we have a plan A, and we go, right, it doesn't happen. We need contingency plans in place. And it feels, certainly from the outside looking in, which is why I described it as a shit show, it feels like everyone's gone, fucking hell, what are we going to do? And that's not good enough. That's not good enough in such a long transfer window. That's not good enough. And even if, I had to rant with you boys before, even if we just said, you know what, let's get that loan in we were talking about. Let's bring a lad in for 12 months with the option. Doesn't have to even be an obligation. An option, 2, 3, 4, 5 million up front. There you go. There's your loan fee. Bring this lad in for 12 months. Give him a try. If it works out, great. We'll sign him. If it doesn't, we'll send him back. We need bodies in. We haven't got enough people in the squad at the moment. And for me, when this transfer window shuts at 11 o'clock tomorrow night, if the position is as it stands, and Pete, I'm sorry to ruin things here. If you tell me that we're going to sign James Trafford and that's it, it's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking him, Pete. I'm not knocking James Trafford. But we don't need James Trafford. Right now, we don't need James Trafford. We need a centre-back and we need a right winger. Sorry.
Well, that's the news there. Just come out recent in the last few minutes. I know one or two have mentioned it in the chat. Alan Nixon has reported that Newcastle are going to make a new Trafford bid. As the Greek keeper, he's talking about Odyssey's Vlachodimos is set for a quick exit. Now, we've already touched on this. For me, great backup keeper, but we need first team ready players. It goes back to the point.
Yeah,
backups are fine. Backups are fine. John Ruddy, third choice, fine, free, no problem. Whatever. In all due respect, whatever. James Trafford, great. He's not better than Pope. Fine. Bring him in as backup. You want a backup? That's cool. You want to get rid of Vlachodimos? That's fine. But we want to be better than we were last season. We want to improve from what we were last season. Last season, we finished 7th, and it still wasn't good enough for Europe. We want to ensure that Europe is the minimum expectation for Newcastle United. And when you look around, and yes, West Ham have had to do more business in this because maybe their first team ready team, wasn't as good as ours, but it's a lot closer now. And there's an argument there of whether it's better than ours. There's a genuine argument there. You look at the likes of Man United, made good signings. Yes, they're in still a bit of a mess, but you know what Man United are like. They can pull themselves out of the rubbish as quickly as they can fall into it. And that's what Man United have been doing for years. Tottenham made improvements. Liverpool now making improvements. Aston Villa lost a really good player, but made a number of significant improvements to their team. So you look around,
Chelsea,
everybody. Chelsea's, you don't even have to say Chelsea because everybody knows they're making signings, but they've made good signings. And they're putting in performances that are making people stand up, like putting 6 past Wolves away from home. They're doing all of that. But I wanted to come back to a point because it was a super chat and I wanted to prioritize the super chat. And it was on the point that you were talking with Chris. In fact, we've got a couple more super chats, so we'll bring them in a second. So with Nathan Page, thank you for your super chat, £5. We will prioritize those super chats. So if there's anyone that is putting in a super chat, we'll bring it straight to the conversation. It says, could Mitchell have tried to smooth over any cracks by going after only Gahey? Something has been off behind the scenes for a while now, and you were kind of talking about it as it popped up on the screen, Chris. So, like, what do you think about that situation? Do you think that he's almost been going for Gale to smooth over the cracks? I have to be honest, in the sort of, we've got a chat, sort of the South Midlands mag chat, and we were kind of talking about this situation. The boys were talking about it. I was working, so I couldn't really contribute to it, but they were talking about this, whether it was a situation where Eddie Howe's still picking and choosing all the players, or whether it's Mitchell's responsibility, whether it's a bit of both. Do you think, based on that conversation, what Nathan's saying, that it is Mitchell going for Gay just to smooth over the cracks, or do you think he genuinely had an agreement with Howe that he's the player that they all wanted?
Do you know what, mate? I think Nathan makes a really good point, and that could well be the case. However, Paul Mitchell has come in as the expert, as the main man. He knows what he's doing, right? And as a transfer collective, or as a group of people who are all looking to do the best thing for the club, which is why they're there. They should have had a conversation, and if that's the case, and they go, "Mike, go and get Mark Gay," brilliant. He then should have come back to the table and went, "Boys, sorry, they're fucking us about a bit here. This is going on and on and on and on." Now, it's at that point for me, again, talking as like a manager, it's at that point for me, if people are coming back to me and they're going to me, I really want to get this deal done. I've put the offer in, like you said, I've gone to this cap, I don't really want to go any higher. I'm really sorry. As the technical director, that my role, I want to cut this. I want to stop this now. We're going to have to go for the plan B, or we're going to have to go for the plan C, because we can't drag this on any longer. And if you noticed as well, what Nathan said, sorry, Pete, what Nathan said in the Eddie, I was like, don't know what's happening, don't know. And it's like, well, why doesn't he know? Is that because Paul Mitchell's cut him out, or is that because Eddie Howe's gone, I want him, nobody else? So sorry, Lisa, I might be putting a bit of slant on Eddie Howe there, but genuinely, we don't know. And this is the thing: you can point fingers, you can blame him, you can blame him, you can blame him, but ultimately, as a collective, it's been a failure between all of them. And Toon Talk's there saying Mitchell's hands are tied by Eddie's stubbornness. If that's the case, that's wrong. Or has Mitchell not basically kept Howe updated? Or has Mitchell not grabbed the situation by the balls and gone, sorry, this isn't happening, so we're going to have to do something else, rather than just pushing it down the road, and then getting to the 29th and going, yeah, sorry, Eddie, it's off now. Someone's... And
he's making a shit of his own reputation, if that's the case as well. He's coming with an outstanding reputation. He's not going to be just judged on this window. He's already started the job as well. We have to give him a chance, obviously, and I'm not knocking him in any way, shape, or form. But he's this is what he does. He's the recruitment expert as well. We had the process expert who buggered off. Now we have the recruitment expert who can't recruit. Or, as Toon Talk says, has his hands tied behind his back.
Yeah.
So, D's in the house. Welcome, D. Hope you're well. He's put a comment in. He said Palace were never selling this late in the window, especially after Anderson left. That was the moment. It was always going to be difficult. Why hasn't Mitchell got alternatives ready? It's a joke. And it's a fair point. It's absolutely a fair point. And I've said it to Dee. We've spoken separately in messages, and I've said like, if Palace were to sell now, that's on them. That's on them. They could be angry with us, but that is on them for selling. But let's not forget, Palace don't need to sell. They've already sold Elise for 45 million. They've just got 30-40 million for Anderson. They don't need to sell anybody. So in that situation, Newcastle United need to be the aggressor. If we really want the player, we need to be aggressive. And I don't genuinely think we might have got to their price range now with days to go. But if we really wanted that player and they don't need to sell the player, we need to show that we want that player. And I've said it to you guys in private, and I'll say it right now. What is Mark Gay thinking about this situation? He knows Newcastle are interested, but he's had a saga that's gone on for a month that's clearly affected him. It's been talked about. Glasner talked about it, and after one of his games at the weekend, I think it was after West Ham game.
Yeah,
It's clearly affected him. But what is he thinking that Newcastle can't get this deal over the line? How does that make him think about the deal, about the move? Like, it's a genuine question. It's a genuine question. He might have been open to the move. He might have been keen to have the move. I know D's saying in the chat that he wasn't keen on the move. He was. It's been reported. But as it's gone on, how was that? Then that could well have changed, because he's looking at the situation. He's thinking, these guys can't get it over the line. Like, did they not want me? Did they not want me enough to be aggressive enough to get this deal done? Are they skimping over 4 or 5 million and spending a week doing it? Did they really want me if they're skimping over 5 million? And some people have said, when it's been talked about on social media, when I put a tweet out and I said, get it done, 5 million, get it done, and people say, it don't work as easy as that. It's 5 million, it's a lot in PSR. And I get that. But you've got to look at a player that's looking at wanting to come to your club, and you're haggling for days on end for 5 million when it could have been done earlier. And the reason why I say it could have been done earlier is this. And Sammy Mockbell has put out another piece today. It was behind the paywall, but I've taken little snippets from it, so it's here for you. And he talks about this, and he said basically the reason why Mark Gay is not a Newcastle United player now, or close to it, is because of the Riyadh injury on Tuesday. And he goes on to say the two clubs have been locked in talks. That they were in a place and ready to accept the 65 plus 5, which is what he reported before. However, because of the injury and because of how late it is in the window, they are now asking for more. So they're not asking for the same money up front. They want 65 million, but instead of 5 million add-ons, they now want 10 million on add-ons. So they want the extra money. And you know what? I don't blame them. As a Newcastle United fan, it's hard for me to say, but I do not blame Crystal Palace for holding and standing their ground and going, hold on, this window is finishing in 24 hours. You're asking us to sell away our captain and our best defender just like that when we've got an injury, and that Riyadh is out for now 8 weeks, nearly 2 months, and we're just expecting them to do that? No, we should have locked this deal off at least 2 weeks ago. We should have given them the money. If we really want the player, we should have paid the money and answered the questions about the fee later, because that was the issue. If we'd have gone out, honestly, boys, if we'd have gone out 4 weeks ago, and we'd have put this sort of money down now, and we'd have took the player within 2 or 3 days, I genuinely think by now, nobody would have been talking about the transfer fee. The fact that it's continued on and it's been made into a saga, they have created their own problem. And it's been absolutely clear from the beginning of the whole situation that Crystal Palace were asking for no less than 65 million. So my question is, why have we, as a collective, whether it's Eddie Howe, Paul Mitchell, Nixon, Andy Howe, whoever it is as part of that team, why did they start at 40 million? Why did they then go up to 50 million? Why did they go to 55, then 60, then 65? They knew what the price was. It was made clear right from the beginning. Why have they taken so long to get there? And they've taken a month to get there, and it's still not enough. Why? Because they ran out of time for their one main target. If you've got one main target that you're after, you pay the money, you get him out, you answer the questions later. It isn't good enough. It is not good enough. And I don't know who mentioned it in the chat. I think you touched on it, Chris, about someone saying, he's only been in here for a short period of time, 4 weeks. I'm not being funny.
6 weeks.
Our transfer plans have been in place for quite a while. They got dismantled when Paul Mitchell came in, and we were okay with that. As I said, we as a fan base have been really patient with this whole situation. We have, all of us have. And we gave him nearly 2 weeks grace to get his feet under the table, to assess the club, to assess targets, to do all of his due diligence on the club as he walked into the door. He's now had 4 weeks. to sign one first team ready player. And someone put in Asula. Asula's a third choice striker. That is not a first team ready player.
And mate, we were all in Germany. We were all in Germany face to face in the pre-season. They were all around the table. All of them were there. That was your opportunity to, as you say, get your feet under the table, have these conversations, get it all on a whiteboard, whatever you do, and go, right, this is who we're going for. If that doesn't pan out, this is who we're going for. And if that doesn't pan out, this is who we're going. These are ones we're going to keep an eye on. If something happens in the window, we don't really want to spend it now, but if they become available, great. You can't tell me that we've gone in with Mark Gay, period. Because if we have, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Lads, look at it this way. We are Newcastle United. We're 85% owned by the biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world, in PIF. How could they not have a plan B? We loaded. We put together shows. Guests drop out last minute. We huddle together. We get another guest on. We change up the show, posters, everything, and flick it. Get it started. I know it's a totally different context. We do this as a hobby. We have jobs and families and so on and so forth. These guys are professionals, the best of the best. How do they not have a plan B?
And that's their job. That's what their sole purpose is, to be there. And you're right in what you're saying as well. We also, and we're giving all our loaded secrets away here, we also have time limits. So we go, right, if it gets to 12 o'clock and nothing's happened, that's what we're doing. And we do it.
Yeah.
And that's it. So this is what should have happened with the Mark A deal. You should have set a deadline and said to Palace, okay, 8 days' time, lads, it's off. It needs to happen by this date. If it doesn't happen by this date, we're leaving. That's it. But instead, it's dragged on and on and on and on. And all we're hearing in the media, we're getting close, so we're nearly there, Well, why isn't it done? Why is it not done? And why have we let it drag on this long and waited till this very last moment? And now it's on the cusp of collapsing, so we hear, and it's not looking good. It's really not looking good. And then it's like, yeah, I think that's our business done. Well, why?
No, it's a great question. Now, why hasn't it been done? You know, the fingers have been pointed at Mitchell, been pointed at Howe, been pointed at various other places. You know, it's a great question. And another super chat, as I apologise for just a second, from Sniffer has said, where else has Mitchell failed to sign players? And I think that's a valid point. Yano's put on there, don't blame Mitchell. Eddie wanted Gay and no one else. If they won't sell, you can't buy. Well, they were ready to sell. Sammy Mockbell's put it in his piece. They were ready to sell this week. The injury has scuppered that deal happening. But the questions we're asking is, why hasn't that deal done before? And, you know, my question to you boys is Paul Mitchell kind of like allowed no criticism in this? Is he someone that escapes criticism because he's new into the club? Because there's a few people in the chat that are pointing the finger at Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe's not escaping criticism here at all. He deserves some criticism, and I'll come on to that in just a second. But in your opinion, you know, is it the case that, you know, because of Mitchell's, you know, his CV elsewhere and where he's been able to sign players and the type of players he's been able to sign, is that a case that we let him off on this one and put the blame on Eddie Howe, or does it work both ways? Where are you fixed, boys, with this particular super chat and that particular question? So I'll put Sniffer's point back up again.
The blame is everyone. Everyone. It's full circle. Everyone involved, including Steve Nixon, including all the scouts, because they have to have players lined up. They have to have plan Bs. They have to have time limits. They have to have this, that, and the other. And going into every transfer window, it's unprofessional otherwise. We're trying to be number one, as Yasser has said in the past. This doesn't look like a club that's going anywhere near number one at this stage. So yeah, he definitely doesn't escape the blame. To answer the individual question, Pete.
Chris, are you aligned with Daz in that, or have you got a particular blame where you feel it lies with an individual person within this? Is there someone to narrow it down? Is there someone more to blame than another in this situation, in your opinion, mate?
It's a really good question, Pete. I think I agree with Daz in that it's a collective. The two that I'm probably more pointing the finger at, should we say, rather than blaming, but the person if I'm Yasser Al-Rumayyan, I'm there, you know, as the 85% shareholder, and I'm getting everyone in the room. The two I'm going for personally is Darren Eales and Paul Mitchell, and I'm saying, right, you tell me, because you look at the hierarchy. You look at the hierarchy of, you know, everybody. Eddie Howe's the manager. Yes, he's got the most important job. He's the front-facing person. But Eddie Howe has now got people above him. Eddie Howe has got Paul Mitchell above him. He's got Darren Eales above him. So Eddie Howe, you know, people say, you know, Eddie, you know, it's Eddie's fault, etc., etc. Now, let's say Eddie is stubborn and Eddie goes, all I want's Mark Gay. I just want Mark Gay. It's the job of Paul Mitchell, in my opinion, and the job of Darren Eales, who Paul Mitchell reports into. It's the job of them to go, right, Eddie, okay, fair enough. You've had your transfer committee in Alnwick Castle or whatever. Brilliant. Mark Gay, that's the guy. If we can't get Mark Gay, who then? And if people can't tell me that Eddie Howe's turned around and go, no, it's Mark Gay, I don't want anybody else. There's nobody else in Europe or in the Premier League that I'm interested in. Because if that's the case, then the ownership have got to be going, is this the guy? Is this the right guy? Because I'm not being funny. You're telling me that there's nobody out there who's an upgrade on Emil Kraft at the minute. There's nobody out there who's the future heir to Fabian Schär's role. There's nobody out there who can challenge Sam Botman. Yeah, there's nobody out there who's possibly any better than Jacob Murphy and Miggy Armanon. There's no one available. Because I know that's a load of shit, and I know you know that's a load of shit. So so for me, the two people I'm looking at is Darren Eales, who's looking over the lot, and then also Paul Mitchell, because I'm going to Paul Mitchell. You know, if he's going back to Darren Eales and going, oh, Eddie doesn't want anyone else. If I'm Darren Eales, I'm going, well, you tell Eddie, you know, say Eddie's got, you know, this 5-box marker. He wants players who hit 5 boxes. You then go to him and go, well, we've got this player here who it's 4 of them, or we've got this player who it's 3 of them, and we can get him on a loan deal. You can give him for 12 months and see how he does. Or, you know, you can bring him in and work with him. He may turn out, you know, there's a couple of question marks around X and Y, but maybe you can work with him, maybe you can do something. And would you rather him than nobody, Eddie? Because I would imagine the case would be yes. Now, you know, some people will say, and I think we've said it ourselves, boys, you know, that Eddie Howe is, you know, living and dying by signings. Ultimately, the person who's going to get kicked down the road if things don't go well is Eddie Howe. He's the one who will lose his job. Darren Eales probably won't lose his job. Paul Mitchell's not going to lose his job. So Eddie Howe's the one under all the pressure, and I do feel sorry for Eddie in that sense. But as you know, the superior to Eddie Howe, they've got to be saying to him, listen, I know you want him, but we can't deliver you him because we're basically getting the piss taken out of us, or they're trying to pull our pants down. So we're going to have to go for the second option. We're going to have to go for the guy that you had 3rd on the list, 5th on the list, 8th on the list. Or Paul Mitchell goes, Eddie, I've just had X club on the phone. This player's available. What do you reckon? And Eddie's going, oh, I don't know. And he's like, well, it's either him or no one, because I can't get Mark Gay. And these are the conversations that should have been happening. And the fact that Eddie's been questioned so many times in recent conferences, press conferences, and he goes, don't know what's going on. I haven't got a clue. And it's like, well, at first I was like, oh, poor Eddie, that's terrible. Now I'm going, hang on. Are you just trying to shift the blame away from yourself? Are you just trying to deflect? Because I'm not being funny. If you're trying to sign players for your squad, yes, he's not involved in the day-to-day negotiations. Eddie Howe should be on the phone to them every half an hour. Where are we? What's going on? Or they should be ringing Eddie Howe and going, this is what's happening. This is what the position is as it stands. We're going to have to come up with an alternative. What do you want to do? I can get you him, or him. Any of them. And keep pushing, keep talking about these options. Because to get to the point that we are now, and this is the way it feels, to get to the point where we are now, and it feels like we've just come unstuck and we haven't got a clue what we're doing, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And I'm wondering now, and the last thing I'll say, I'm wondering now, way back when, I forget which window it was, Daz, you'll probably remind me, when it must have been January. Was it last January? I think it was.
It's January. I know what you're going to say. Go on.
Yeah, and I said, are they just keeping the coffers dry, wondering if they're going to shift Eddie on? They're not going to give him the purse strings. Yeah. Craig Lee, anyone think Eddie's been backed because the owners want him to prove himself with this squad and are keeping a war chest? Mate, Craig, I'll be honest, mate. I mentioned it in January, and now the way this is going, because I couldn't understand it in January when we were desperate for players. We were desperate to bring somebody in, even a loan deal. And we've now come to the following summer and we're having the same conversations. I find it worrying. I do.
At the same time, though, there's still a 65 plus 5 bid sitting on the table. It hasn't been taken away as far as we know.
But it's been there for like 30 odd days, Daz.
We know the money's there. that is not in question. The money's there because the money's been put down on multiple occasions. If what you're saying is right, Chris, and they're holding back on the money because they're wanting Eddie Howe to prove himself, that is neglect by the owners and the big top people, top brass. Because if you're a club aspiring to be a Champions League club, a club that's aspiring to be a trophy-winning club, a club that's aspiring to be number one, as our chairman said, you do not neglect the club to be able to evolve and get better. You know, and everybody else knows, you cannot sit on your laurels. There's been so many people that have pointed it out today. And going back to Mike Ashley's season, when we finished 5th, and all we got in is Vernon Anita from Ajax. Yeah. This is the same situation. So if that is the case, and I don't believe it is, but if that is the case, we are neglecting our own club, which is an absolute disgrace if that is the case. Now, I don't know whether that's the case or not, but if that is the case and they're asking him to prove himself with those players, they are doing a disservice to Newcastle United. And for me, as a fan of this club, that is unacceptable. Unacceptable. What you do in that situation is if you don't back your manager and you don't trust the manager with the money, you don't have the manager in charge. And you replace him with a manager that you do trust. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter where he finished you in the league. It doesn't matter how good you are as a manager. If you don't back him and you don't trust him, you don't put the money in front of him to say, right, go get the players that you want, then therefore you don't trust the players and therefore you don't have the manager in place and you get a manager in that wants to do the job. So for me, I'm struggling to believe that. I get your point that you're saying, Chris, and actually the reason why I'm struggling to believe it because I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe it.
No, I don't. I agree.
Because that would just be an absolute hindrance to this club in this situation. But you touched on a few things there, and a few people have come in with regards to the situation and talked about whether it's Howe's fault, whether it's Mitchell's fault. I think you both mentioned that it's a collective, and I would probably agree with that. But if we're genuinely in a situation where Eddie Howe's gone, gay or nobody, I'm not being funny, and I think Kev Lawson touched on this, but I had the same thought. If you're Paul Mitchell and you can't convince Eddie Howe to consider another option, then I've got serious concerns about him as sporting director. Now, he's best in class, and he's proved it. He's proved it. His CV's there. People have put it in the chat. I spoke to other people that have said the same. He's proved it, and I'm so excited that he's in charge. And I do in my hearts of hearts believe that we won't be in this position again because we've got Paul Mitchell. But if he can't convince Eddie Howe that there's an alternative out there that's just as good as Mark Gay, if not better, in Europe, and that we should sign him and it costs less, then I've got serious concerns about Paul Mitchell in that situation. Because there's a player that's linked, that's just about to go to Al Nassr, who for me is just as good as Mark Gay. And some may say he's better, and Mohamed Simakan, who we've talked about on this channel in previous transfer windows as a player of a target for Newcastle United. And he's been talked about as being available for 50 million euros. So you're talking 56, 57 million pounds.
No less.
You're telling me that that's not a viable option? A viable option? He's arguably a better option at a cheaper price. You can go and get a right winger on top of that.
Yeah.
And your window is completely different. You're talking about a completely different situation there. If you cannot convince your manager to consider another alternative, there's a serious concern. Equally, and I have to say equally, if you're a manager of Newcastle United, and you know how I feel about Eddie Howe, so I'm saying this with complete honesty. If you're Eddie Howe and you cannot see that there is a better or equal alternative in Europe to Mark Gay, then I'm questioning your choice of players for Newcastle United. And I shouldn't be, because Botman, Bruno, Isak, Tonali have all come through on Eddie Howe's watch. So I'm here to consider, I'm here to say that there's no reason for me to question Eddie Howe. But if you're telling me that Eddie Howe is saying no to any of those other alternatives, then there's a serious concern there. Because those players are quality players. Yes, they might not play in the Premier League. Yes, they might need time to settle in. But so did Botman, so did Bruno, so did Isak. And look at what they're doing now. So it's I'm in a crossroads here. I'm in a tug of war. I don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether we'll ever find out the truth of what this situation really is. Maybe until one of them's left the club. And at this moment in time, I've got to be honest, it's more likely to be Eddie Howe than Paul Mitchell. That's kind of where I am right now. The way we're going is where I'm of the mindset right now that this is Eddie Howe's last season at Newcastle United. This is how I feel right now. And I'm saying that like, and it's kind of really difficult for me to say it because I do love Eddie Howe. You know I do. And I've talked about it endlessly. But the way this situation has played out, it's either, for me, that they're going to go in Mitchell's direction, so they're going to get a manager that works with Mitchell, or Eddie Howe's going to go, they're not backing me. They don't believe in me. I'm gone. And that's kind of where I'm feeling at the moment. I might be wrong.
To add where you've just said as well, Pete, we know or we believe a bid went in for Michael Elise. Obviously, Bayern blew us out the water, and that was quickly put to one side. But you've also got a question, certainly from what we've heard, in that I know from the media perspective, Eddie's going to back his players, and rightly so. So he should. Until they leave Newcastle United, and even when they've left Newcastle United, he's very complimentary of them. But is there any chance, in your opinion, boys, that Eddie Howe's going, no, I'll stick with Miggy and Murphy. I'm fine with Miggy and Murphy. Because we've not been linked with any other right winger other than Madueke. There's been no real, big player where you go, yeah, that's a player we want. Is Eddie Howe? And again, we're all speculating on here. None of us know. If we did know, it would make shows a lot easier, and also, it would cut down debate, wouldn't it? But is Eddie Howe
on the shows too?
Yeah, it was. Is Eddie Howe going, I want him at centre back and I want him at right wing, and that's it. If you can't get me them, I don't want them. Is that really the point that we're at the moment? Because there's so many options out there. We've seen it with Chiesa, we've seen it with Mamardashvili, and now it looks like we're going for Trafford. We've seen it with Gay, and it's like, where's the other options? Where are the other links? Because in the past, we've been linked with 4, 5, 6 players, and we've gone, oh, I wonder who we're going to get, and this player will turn up, and then that player will turn up. Oh, that player is too expensive. We'll have to go for him. No, he's going to go there, so we'll have to go for him. But we're not seeing any of that. Not seeing any of it, and this is what's concerning me. Sorry, Dad.
I don't know what I was going to say now. I was going to maybe we're going to bring it back to Pete's point about Eddie Howe and Mitchell. Okay, if we play out, Pete said that it would potentially be Eddie Howe's last season if things don't go well, or if he picks up a whole lot of injuries, which equals the season does not go well, and we don't qualify for Europe, definitely don't qualify for the Champions League. But if we play out the other scenario, is that we get rid of Mitchell, or Mitchell walks, and then bring in another sporting director, and he doesn't want to play ball with him either, and only wants his own way. We can't keep going down that road either. There's like Eddie Howe is a young manager. He's only 2 or 3 years older than me, and he's but he has to be willing to. It isn't Bournemouth. It's back to the thing again where he has control of everything, and he has to, because there's no other choice. He has to compromise and has to let others do their job. And it is only then that everything works and everything clicks, because that's the structure that we put together, and that's where the future lies. Well after Eddie and well down the line, that's where the future lies. And again, like Pete, I do not want Eddie Howe to leave. I love Eddie Howe as well, but the way it's looking like it's going to play out, the serious question marks now.
It's going to get to a point, boys, where the sporting director is going to want to kind of imprint his values, imprint his way of working effectively. Yeah, absolutely, do his job. And if the manager's not going to allow him to do so, the manager will go. It's as simple as that. You don't get best in class sporting director and not have a manager that is in sync, that is in tune with him. And to be fair, let's be honest, to be fair, Eddie Howe has talked up their relationship. Even in the press conference previously, before the Forest game, he talked about his relationship with Paul Mitchell and said it's very good and they've got a good working relationship. So this is where we don't really know what's going on, because they're talking so positively about each other, but then we're in a situation where it looks like what's being said is completely different to what we're actually seeing come to fruition. So this is where we're questioning everything, and this is why it's so hard to know where we stand. All we're doing is three people, myself, Daz, and Chris. We're just giving our opinions. We're kind of unloading our frustrations here, and obviously everyone in the chat, we've got over 500 in the chat. Make sure you click the likes. We haven't said that. Make sure you click the likes. We need 500 likes from this show, so make sure you do that, and thank you for watching. Don't think that we haven't seen your contributions, and in the chat you've made some great contributions and put some great questions in. I'm going to come to another super chat, because as we're saying, we're prioritizing the super chats tonight. Thank you for all your super chats. Get them in as we continue, because we're not done yet. There's another big topic that I want us to talk about with regards to this conversation, this whole conversation that we're going to get into. So Migs S, thank you for your contribution to the channel. It says, overall, given the PSR whole, we have done well to keep our stars, and we have a squad who can get Europe, in his opinion. Our realistic aim would have liked more. So although we've kind of been venting tonight and everyone in the chat has been venting, is there a sense of perspective on all of this with regards to what Migs has said? Well, what are your thoughts on this, boys?
Yeah,
Chris,
there is. We can. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
We'll all have a conversation on this. Sorry.
Look, we can get Europe. We can get Champions League with the squad we have. If we don't get so many injuries. Like, we already have Willock out again. It's so unfortunate. Willock actually such a great player, but made of glass, as people say. And it's the amount of injuries, especially in that one side of him as well. When you see all the injuries on that injury table, where he's been hit before, let's say, in terms of injuries. But aside from Willock, yes, we have a squad capable, but we need Isak to stay fit for the whole season. We need Wilson to push him, because it's only when Wilson pushes him we get the best out of Isak. We need our midfield 3, 4, whoever we have there to fit and fire all season. We've already why we're talking about Mark Gay. We're already really under pressure on our back line. We have Char to come back, and again, stupid suspensions as well would need to go our way. So there's an awful lot of things that would need to go our way, and our away form, which is questionable from last year and into this season as well. So it's possible, but probably more things need to go our way, even more so than the year we did get Champions League. So that's why we needed to strengthen and to spend the money we're sitting on in at least one of the positions, if not double up and spend 35 million in each, or blow it all in one area, and that's why the frustration is here from us three and from everyone in the chat, I am sure, or at least 99% of the people in the chat.
Chris, what are your thoughts on the same super chat? I'm just going to pop it up again, so apologies.
Yeah, go for it, mate. No, go for it.
Says overall, given the PSR whole, we've done well to keep our star players. Should we be in perspective on all this? Should we just be grateful that we've kept the likes of Isaac, Gordon, Bruno in the team and still be competitive for European football? Or should we be ambitious and be looking to achieve more as we were in the whole of this summer probably up until this week?
Did that come in from Miggy, by the way?
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it. You can look at it in two ways. I think. I mean, but the cynical side of me goes, bloody hell, we nearly lost Gordon, and wasn't that an absolute disaster as well, by the way. And not only did we nearly lose the player, but it feels, contrary to the picture last night of the reaction, it almost feels like we've unsettled Gordon a little bit in what was an absolute calamity. Towards the back end of June when we were forced to sell Minter and Elliot Anderson and then bring in Vlachodimos, but that's a completely separate conversation. So I am pleased that we've kept all of Isaac, Bruno, Tonali, Gordon, Botman. We if you look at it glass half full, we do have a competitive squad. We are capable of still getting Europe this season. I think it goes back to what you said earlier, Pete, about the season when we finished 5th under Pardew and we only signed Vernon and Anita. It does feel like that. It does. It feels like an opportunity missed. And the frustrating thing is, I don't actually think it's down purely to money. Whereas in the past, under Ashley, it was a case of, he doesn't want to spend any money and, we haven't got off the money. Ashley's creamed all the money off the top. That isn't the case, and this is the frustration. And, if we keep everyone fit, if we don't get any suspensions, we're more than capable of getting into Europe next season. But what's frustrating me is the fact that, we could have made that a surer thing by bringing in 1 or 2 first team ready, top quality players, like all the teams around us have done. And that's where the frustration lies. We majorly fucked up at the end of June. And we ended up losing, as I say, Minter, who looks a promising player. He's made a good start to his Brighton career, and Elliot Anderson, who was a good squad member with the capability, of really kicking on and becoming, potentially a first team player in the future. So we've lost 2 players who we didn't want to lose, and I think Eddie Howe made it clear that he was upset about that. And then we were like, right, July. Let's right the wrongs. Let's have a positive window. And the window started relatively comfortably. We signed a couple of players, which raised a few eyebrows. I've already mentioned that, the likes of John Buzzy, Vlachodimos, Lloyd Kelly, who was a good, strong signing. I also believe that, Sule will turn out to be, a decent signing. Although I was watching him warm up, Pete. I don't know if you saw that. I was watching him warm up. And he was struggling, when they do the kicking along the opposite ends of the pitch to each other. Yeah. A few wayward passes, but maybe that's me being overly critical. But I noticed Sean Longstaff was screaming at him as if to go stop kicking it away from me. So that was interesting. But in all seriousness, the window was. It was I wouldn't say an exciting start, but I thought, okay, a bit of squad depth. Then we saw Matt Ritchie go, we saw Paul Dummett go, and like, right, okay, a couple of the deadwoods. No offense to those players, but it was time to move on. And I thought, right, okay, we're getting ready, we're building up. Michael Elise bid, okay, this is looking good, getting excited. That didn't pan out, but again, I wasn't really expecting it to pan out. We've been doing these transfer shows, talking about all these links, all these players who we could potentially go for. And then Mark Gay comes out of nowhere and we're thinking, yes, okay. And then the price is creeping up and it's like, okay, we'll just get the deal done. I just cannot believe that we've got to the 29th of August and we're still talking about James Trafford, a player who I've got no doubt will be a good player in the future. And I think it'd be a shrewd signing, but it's not what we need. It's not a player that we need right now. It really isn't. We've already got 5 goalkeepers. And to now talk about potentially bringing in a 6th goalkeeper, I'm lost for words on it. I really, really am. And really, to answer Migas's question, we've done well to keep the stars, absolutely. But we would have liked more, absolutely. And I think in order to really cement those possibilities of getting top 6 and above, I said at the start of the season, boys, I feel like Eddie Howe needs to get Champions League football. Does this lessen the ask for Eddie Howe? does this because I'm not being funny. Does anybody expect? I think Luke Edwards said it. Does anybody expect us to get top 4 now? Because I don't.
Wow, you love a segue. You love a segue. You really do, because we are perfectly segue into that section. But I just want to big up another super chat. Brant, brilliant. Thank you for your $5. Really appreciate it. Put a comment or a question in next time, because we do really appreciate it. Any super chats we are prioritizing, we're putting to the front, because this is a hot topic. People are frustrated, people are angry, we're frustrated, we're angry. We've been so patient over the course of this summer as Newcastle United fans across the board, right? We're coming to this point now and we've got nobody that's first team ready. It is not acceptable for a team that has aspirations for Champions League football. But we'll come to the points that we're going to come up to next. And look, the three of us, we all saw these comments as we came out. We all talked about them on the chat, but they're very interesting topical points. And it's related to Luke Edwards. So Luke Edwards has made sort of 3 various different comments. And what he says is, and I was about to remove the chat. Thank you very much. He put, I'll say this now, all the talk of Champions League qualification needs to end. Newcastle still have a good team and a decent squad, but it's top 8, not top 4 quality. And anything more than that would be another excellent achievement for Howe. Okay, suffers injuries to key players and ... I think we know the rest, having watched last season. From your perspective, boys, do you agree with that comment? Do you agree with what Luke Edwards is saying with regards to the expectations of Newcastle United? And Chris, you've just touched on that, the expectations of Champions League and fighting near the top. What are your thoughts, Daz?
Bullshit. I'm refusing to give up on the dream of Champions League. I want to be playing that Champions League music again. I want to be back in the Champions League. I want to get a decent draw this time, not a suicide draw. So why can't we dream? Why? What's to say that we do? That we have that James Bunsen as well. Maybe we don't have as many injuries.
No, oh my, don't do it.
Chris,
Who did that? Who did that? You can't do that.
Started on my speech. It wasn't me. It wasn't me this time.
I was just trying to make a bit of positivity.
We're not signed anybody. Oh.
Daz Vanton and then the Champions League music just blissfully playing.
We will fight them on the beaches. We will.
Yes.
Churchill.
Boys, we've got to be sitting in the top 4 positions to be able to play that music. That's got to be a rule for Loaded Bag AFC, surely.
Yeah. I was allowed in the first game. We weren't.
Very nice.
Nah,
that one's different.
Right, yeah. So my point is, look at it. We're still in the running. If we bought the ticket, so we're still in the running for it. It is less realistic, and I know people have pointed out to me in the chat as well. But that will happen now. But I still hold some hope that we get 1 or 2, like we're talking about Trafford, maybe a right winger, maybe some loan signings as well. And the injuries and the suspension. So there's still hope. And I'm not going to give up that hope. If I give up that hope, what's the point? I just might as well not bother coming on here if I give up the hope. So less realistic, I agree, but still maintain hope. And the top 5, like it's top 4 or 5 as well. You know, you could go down to the 5th spot. So don't rule it out. Dreamer.
Quick. On the Luke Edwards comments, I'll put them back up on the screen. All the talk of Champions League needs to end. We're facing and fighting top 8, but not necessarily top 4 quality assembled squad. Do you agree with what Luke Edwards is suggesting?
Do you know what? Who am I kidding? I'm like the most half glass full Newcastle fan that there is, and all me red and blue mates will tell you that. You know, like I one minute I'm very up and down. 1 minute, you know, I'm like, oh, this is terrible and whatever. I still believe we are good enough to get top four. Look at the squad we had when we got top four. I think we're capable. Yes.
Nah, man.
No. Do you know? No, do you know what? In all seriousness, like I said last weekend when we played Bournemouth, I had to took a point. I think I said that on away days, didn't I? Peter said 1-1. I said 1-1, by the way. I said 1-1. I said I would have took a point, right? And do you know what? Yeah. I think we're more than capable of it. The frustration and the anger from tonight, the pent-up anger, I may feel differently on the reaction show after Tottenham. The frustration and the anger comes from the fact, and it goes back to last season, exactly the same thing in the January transfer window, is the fact that we had an opportunity, and I think I said this just earlier, to solidify and make our chances of getting top four far more realistic. And for me, this is a missed opportunity. Are we capable of doing it? Yes. Can we do it? Yes. Does it look less likely now? Yes. Because I was hoping we were going to bring this right winger in. I was hoping we were going to bring this centre back in. And had we done that, if we'd have gone out and we'd have brought in Mark Gay and Rafinha, or Mark Gay and Ferran Torres, or Simican and, Kudus, or something like that, we'd have all been going into this going, we're getting top four. We're going to get top four. And we'd have been riding the crest of a wave, and we'd have felt majorly confident. We've got Sandro Tonali back. We've got Joe Linton back. Callum Wilson, hopefully, he's going to stay fit. We've got Asula as a third choice striker option. Hopefully, Nick Pope can stay fit. Oh, look, we've got James Trafford in as number 2. Things would have looked a lot more positive. And I think that we could have then kicked on. The players would have, the likes of Isak, the likes of Bruno, the likes of Gordon would have been going, oh, look at these boys we're bringing in here. Bruno's the captain. There would have just been so much positivity. And this is where my frustration and my anger comes from, because I think to myself, we're having these conversations, we're talking about it, and people in the chat are saying it. What are the owners talking about? What are the hierarchy discussing? At what point, when this window shuts, are the hierarchy going to be going, I think we've ballsed up here. I think we've made a big mistake here. We were in the away end last night. The support, the backing of the club, it's all there. Everything's there. And what the fans deserve is, we say, don't we, we don't want a team that wins, we want a team that tries. And in this transfer window, the perception to me is that we've not tried and we've not done good enough, and we've failed. We've failed the fans, and we've also failed the players in the squad. Because I know the likes of Bruno, the likes of Isak, the likes of Gordon, if the head hasn't already been turned, and I'm talking mainly about Gordon here, what are they thinking? What are they thinking going into Tottenham on Sunday? Are they going, fucking Chelsea are buying them, Arsenal are buying them, Man U are buying them, City are buying them, Liverpool are buying them? Who've we bought? Are we've got Will Asula and we've got John Ruddy. Doesn't look good on the club. Really doesn't.
It doesn't at all, and you're absolutely right. And there's been a few people that have mentioned in the chat about exactly that, Chris, about looking at this situation, looking at how the club have handled their transfer business. Every club and every top club expects new players to come in every summer, especially in the summer, not necessarily January, but in the summer. So you're absolutely right to mention, Chris, the fact that what are these players looking around and thinking, okay, who's the big boy coming in? Like you only have to listen to what Sean Longstaff said about Sandro Tonali. He came in last summer, and they say about how big he is as a player and how much he's loved and how much he's appreciated. And we saw it last night, and everyone watched it on TV, saw the quality, the first touch, the elegance, the way he commanded himself on the pitch. And you're thinking, that's why we paid 55 million. That's why we plucked him away from AC Milan. Yes, the ban was for 10 months, but we've got him back now. He's ours. And you can see why we paid the money for him. And then they're looking around and they're going, where's our Sandro Tonali this year? Where are we getting better? And this is where I kind of feel differently to Daz. And I have to say, I admire that positivity. And I'm normally that guy. But I do not see us being around Champions League football. I don't see it right now. Maybe during the season, that we can do something and we can surprise a few teams like we did when we finished 4th. But we're in a position where we're not likely to surprise teams like we did back then because people are expecting us to be at that level now.
Oh, yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
Now, if we get
Note to self, clip
if-
this up. I enjoy playing this in May.
Daz, if we have to clip this up and I'm looking at myself saying what I'm saying and I'm absolutely wrong, I will absolutely love every single minute and laugh at what I'm saying right now. But I just feel, and I might change, but I'm feeling right now that this team is undercooked. This team is not ready. Chris, you said in our chat earlier when we were talking, we now have Dan Burn and Emil Kraft, who are our centre backs going into the game on Sunday. For me, that isn't good enough. In a massive game, a must-win game at St. James's Park. Now we might win that, and I hope we do, and I hope we actually smash them off the park like we've done the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at a free-scoring Tottenham team that won 4-0 the other day, coming to St. James's Park up against Burn and Kraft, and to see how difficult they found it against a backup striker in Iwoni on last night in the cup. And Chris, we were talking about it constantly. The amount of headers that they didn't win, the amount of times that they felt themselves out of position. And it was Forest, so we kind of got away with it, all respect to Forest, but we're coming against a better team. If we're managed to get through it, great, but I'm not comfortable going long parts in the season with those two as centre-back. And this is why this signing was so crucial. And I can't see it, boys. I can't see us being around the Champions League. And I had us to finish fifth, which I still feel would qualify, and it will. I still believe it will qualify whoever finishes fifth for Champions League football, because I do believe our teams will have a good season in Europe. But I just can't see it right now that Newcastle United are that, and that's me changed in the last 3 or 4 days from where I was thinking previously. I still believe European football is the target. If fifth becomes an opportunity for Champions League football, it means that eighth could potentially still get Europe, which puts us right in the mix, because I do think we're still capable of finishing in the top 8. But as we saw last season, there's a gap between Champions League and European football, Europa League and Europa Conference. There's a gap in quality, and there's a gap in points normally throughout the season. And I just don't think we've got enough to get that. Now, our start to the season hasn't suggested it. We haven't played well, but we haven't lost a game.
No.
We've won 2, drew 1. This game on Sunday is massive, and we were talking about this before we went live.
It is.
Guys, you're going to be there. Like, this is a massive game. This game on Sunday will put the cherry on top to assess whether this has been
where we're going
or not.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I agree.
It does.
It's that's why I said it a couple of days ago. It's a 6-pointer, and a ridiculous statement, but it is a 6-pointer.
No,
couple of super chats in, boys. I'm going to come to them. Thank you for your super chats, John. Great to have you in. And to be fair, John, you've made some really fantastic comments, like so many others in the chat. I know Mark Byers is in the chat. We don't normally have him very often, so big up to Mark Byers over in America. Hope you're well. He's made some comments, and we've started a couple of bits from him as well. And it says, anyhow, don't get top 6, be gone by December. Simeone comes. What do you think of that, boys?
Be interesting, Simeone, for sure. But it's if he's not in the top 6 by December, I have to see how far is he in 7th. Has he got games in hand? You know, in that scenario, how has it played out up to then, John? I think we will stick with him up until March. If we're down in 10th, then pull the trigger. But I'm still keeping some kind of faith in things. I'm still playing the Champions League music, for God's sake. So I'm keeping some faith. Chris,
I've just got some good news for you. Breaking news: my daughter is playing in a friendly tonight, just before the season starts. And it's not transfer news, but it's good news for me. So I'm taking a personal hit here. She's just bagged a hat trick.
Sign her up.
Yeah, sign her up for the women's team. I've already told her if she makes it to that level, she needs to choose Newcastle. And she's of course she's a Newcastle fan, so she will choose Newcastle. But that's just a bit of breaking news that she's just sent through to me. So that's just some positives. But back to the big conversation. Eddie Howe doesn't get top 6 gone by December. Simeone in. What are your thoughts, mate?
A massive fan of Simeone. So John puts a good suggestion up there. I think the next manager of Newcastle United will be someone in that caliber. I think it will be someone, a top manager. I'm gonna sit on the fence a bbit with Daz on this. I think I'm gonna keep my powder dry. I want to see how the season progresses. Like I've said, boys, for me, this looks, unless something changes in the next 27 hours, this just looks like a really big missed opportunity. And if we have the likes of, and no disrespect to them, if we have the likes of Kraft, Miggy, Murphy playing extended minutes this season, I think it's going to be the undoing of us. Sean Longstaff, Dan Burn, add those players to it. Good squad players who can come in and do a job. I'm not knocking them as such, but if you've got aspirations of hitting that top 4 and you want to consistently be there, and you're looking at the others and all the spending they're doing, having players in your squad, in your starting 11 on a regular basis, they're not going to win your football matches. You're gonna get found out, and unfortunately.
Oh, sorry.
What happened there?
I thought Keith was coming in.
I heard
breaking news.
I heard sitting on the fence, and I just. It was just instinct. It was just
see the time.
I'm sorry.
We haven't seen Keith yet. We haven't seen Keith this season.
Haven't seen him this season.
Keith has been working. Keith is working. So he did say the first few weeks of the season he wasn't going to be available, but he will be back very soon on away days. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris, there, but I couldn't help myself with regards to the Keith little prompt.
I want to go to another comment because it's someone we haven't seen for a while. It's Richie. All right, Richie. How is it going, buddy? And Richie says. He said both Paul Mitchell and Eddie Howe should be flexible. Paul Mitchell should be able to adapt to Eddie Howe's style of play to find players to fit that. Paul Mitchell only decides style of play when it comes to when it comes to when a new coach, head coach comes in. However, Eddie Howe needs to accept player alternatives.
I agree.
Great, 100%. There, Richie. But good to see you in the chat, buddy.
Yeah. Like I said, we touched on those points, and this is the thing. This is the tug of war because we don't know the inner information on that situation with regards to Eddie Howe, Paul Mitchell. What's the real kind of understanding? What's the real kind of information like in terms of their relationship? This is why I think we've literally during the show gone from pillar to post because we don't know what to believe because we don't know what the reality is, and I genuinely feel that the points that Richie's made are absolutely correct, but I just don't think we will know the reality until one of them leaves the club. And I think at that point we'll have a better understanding of what the situation is. But he's right; they both need to be flexible. And the easy thing to do, and it goes back to the original conversation right at the beginning of the show. If you can't get your top target, you go to your second or your third or your fourth. Altogether, you look at an alternative. And Simicam was an alternative. One of my favourites, who's now at West Ham, John Claire Todibo, he went on loan, for God's sake. He went on loan with an obligation to buy West Ham. That's madness. He'd have been a massive upgrade on what we've got right now.
Of course, yeah. But you didn't find him as Charles' replacement before.
Loads of loans happening. There's loads happening. And this is why I'm struggling. When we're talking about we're hamstrung by PSR, we've got no money, we can't spend, we can't do this, we can't do that. We saw it last season with the Lewis Hall deal. You go to a club and you say, listen, we want to try this player out. Here's a loan, we'll give you a decent loan fee. Not quite sure, so we'll do an option. And then if they insist on an obligation, you go, okay. but it's going to significantly reduce the value. Like, you know, so if they want 25 million for the player, you go, okay, we'll give you 5 million up front, and then we'll give you 15 million obligation. Because if we're tying ourselves down to this player who we've got reservations over, you know, we're not going to go to the maximum value. Or we can do the option. The player lands perfectly, is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, we'll give you the 25 million. We'll give you it because we're happy with him. If not, have him back. But at least we've got that body through the door. We've got options, and we've got players who can come in and, you know, do a job above players who we've got at the minute. Because let's be honest, as we said before, and this is the overriding feeling, right now, you're telling me there's no other right centre-back other than, I wouldn't mind. We're talking about right centre-backs. Mark Gay doesn't even play right centre-back. Mark Gay is technically a left centre-back. So there's got to be a right centre-back option there. Someone you can bring in who is better than Emil Kraft. There's got to be a right winger out there who will offer more than Miggy or Murphy. There's got to be. There has to be.
There is.
The fact that we're not exploring it is the frustration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One more super chat in there. Toonsy, we can wave goodbye to Bruno and Isaac if no top six. I'm not going to lie.
Top five. No Champions League.
I'm not going to lie.
That's the worry. That's the biggest worry we have. Because
I don't know who's going to leave next summer, but it almost feels like one of the big boys is gonna move on. I don't know who that is, and I don't want to keep it on a negative because things could all change. We could get the Champions League. I could be clipped up. We could be playing Champions League music all through the season. Who knows? But I do worry about what's coming ahead. So I don't want to spend too long on this. Thank you, Toonsy, for your super chat. But any thoughts on that particular comment?
I align with what we said last in the last season. If we don't get Champions League, I don't blame Bruno, Isaac, even Gordon maybe now for looking elsewhere. Because it's the short career. They want to play at the very top level. They've got a taste of it as well. And if we're can't get by players in the main transfer window of a season, how does that look to them? You said it's been saying it through the show, Pete. And we're going to just have to say, wish them the best of luck in their next adventure and at a club that will get transfers over the line. They will look at alternatives. They will have a plan B that are striving to be number one.
Okay. Chris, do you want to share your thoughts on that, or are you in a full agreement with Daz?
I think there's actually potential, which sounds really negative. I think there's potential we could lose all three.
Oh no!
Because no, honestly, and the reason I say that, the reason I say that is, let's say, I don't know whether Bruno's got that clause again. Hopefully he hasn't. But let's say someone comes in anyway. Bruno has a fantastic season. Someone comes in for Bruno. Bang! Bruno's gone. Captain gone. Isaac's going. Well, we just lost Bruno. You know, Isaac's going. I want to play Champions League football. I'm one of the best strikers in Europe, which on his day he absolutely is. Then Gordon's going. Well, hang on. I was trying to. You were trying to flog me to Liverpool last season. Liverpool coming with a huge bid for Gordon. Is Gordon then going to go, yeah, Bruno's gone, Isaac's gone, I want to go as well? And all of a sudden, we create this atmosphere, this problem where you're losing a lot of big players. Yes, we bring in some really big players to replace them. I've got no doubt about that. But I forget who said it, but it was said not long ago. You need to build the nucleus of the club around those players. I think the one that we're probably most likely to keep of the three would be Bruno, funnily enough, because I think giving him the captaincy, we saw it last night, Pete, at the City Ground, didn't we? Like Bruno's loving this new captaincy role. But Bruno Guimaraes, as much as we love him and as much as he loves us, he wants to be playing Champions League football and he deserves to be playing Champions League football. Alexander Isak loves it at Newcastle, wants to be playing Champions League football. Anthony Gordon, you know, maybe, as I say, maybe he felt a little bit hurt at the fact that, you know, we were potentially looking at moving him on. He will want to be playing Champions League football, European football at a minimum. But the frustrating thing is now we've seen Chelsea upgrade, and Chelsea apparently, by the way, is still in talks with Osimhen. They're now in talks with Jadon Sancho. It's just like
they're a different planet, aren't they?
They are. But it's moves like this that make me think, and this is where the frustration comes from. Go and have conversations with Chelsea. I know people are saying, "Oh, don't help Chelsea out. Don't give them any money." If there's a bargain to be had, go and get them. Go and get Trevor Chalobah, who we've spoken about before. Go and get Raheem Sterling on a season-long loan. Just go and get somebody who can come in and upgrade in the position that we're in right now. Let's try and bring a little bit of positivity to the season. Let's try and bring a little bit of competition. That's what we need to do right now. But Toonsy, it's a cracking point, and I think all three are at risk of going in the summer. And if a big comes in, I think the player turns around and goes, "Well, sorry, you've shown zero ambition in the summer window. You showed zero ambition in the January window before that. I don't know if I want to stay here," and I wouldn't blame them.
And this is what we put in our chat as well. My answer back to you, Chris, on the Chelsea thing was, if I'm Chelsea, I'm not going to help Newcastle. I'm not going to help myself either, but I'm not going to help Newcastle because they're a European rival for European places. You never know, it could come down to the wire in that Champions League spot with Newcastle. So why am I going to help them?
Would they be worried about Trevor Chalobah joining Newcastle then? A player like that. I'm not saying Chelsea wouldn't want us to sell. Chelsea wouldn't sell us one of their, diamonds. They wouldn't do that. I agree. But these fringe players who would come in and do a job for us, Trevor Chalobah isn't going to get us top four football. But having a right centre back who knows the position, who can keep us solid, who can prevent us from conceding, that last minute goal, or making sure that we see a game through when we're 2-1 up, that can make all the difference. And having a player in there who knows the position, knows his job, and who's got a little bit about him, he can do a job. Am I wanting Trevor Chalobah to be the first choice right centre back for the next 3 years? No, but he would do a job, and this is what I mean.
Go on, Dad.
Sorry, Pete. I was going to say I'd still play Shara Headroom.
Oh, yeah, I would. But I'd rather Trevor Chalobah come on than Emil Kraft come on.
Yeah.
Or when Shah goes and books
I agree with
again.
that. Yeah.
I would rather have Trevor Chalobah there.
That's the key. Is when you're looking at your alternatives in the team, you've got someone that you maybe trust a little bit more than Emil Kraft, and that's the key. Like, we wanted a first choice ready centre back to come in, almost to replace Byrne, to have Shaw and that player be the two centre backs, and have Byrne as your alternative because he's, he comes in, he does a job for the team. You don't necessarily want to start. He hasn't really put massive foot wrong this season, but you're thinking long term. You're thinking, have I got someone that's better than him and have him in reserve to reserve his energy, his workload, and all the rest of it? That's
Byrne under Botman, mate. Byrne under Botman, brilliant. Brilliant.
Exactly. And this is the thing, but now we're looking in a different market. We're looking at someone to come in and be better than Kraft. This is the point. This is where we're at right now. We're looking at someone to come in and be better than Kraft. And we kind of laughed off Chalobah way down at the beginning of the window, and maybe rightly so with the players that we were linked with. But now we're in a position where actually you're probably looking at that and you take him. And actually, there's a lot of Chelsea fans that don't want to let him go. There's a lot of other clubs that would like to take him. So you're looking at that situation thinking, well, okay, would it be the worst option in the world? I know he doesn't want to leave Chelsea, but you're looking at that. For me, I'd wait until late into the window, maybe even tomorrow, and I'd put in a loan bid for Raheem.
10 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, well, maybe not that. That's very much Newcastle late at the moment. But I'd put in a loan bid for Raheem Sterling. Try and get him on covering a small amount of wages. Try and get him in. No other club seems to be in talks with him at the moment, but he would add something that is significantly better than Murphy and Miggy. He'd had goals, he'd had creativity, he'd had something. We need something better than what our right wingers are currently offering. Yes, he plays predominantly right, but I would play him on the left, or Gordon on the left, or Barnes on the left, and you've got an alternative there that's going to push those players. And I would do it. I would do it regardless. Let's be honest. We're ready to put down 70 million on a defender. If we don't get that defender, we have the money to supplement his wages and maybe a loan fee. There is no reason why that type of deal can't be done as a supplement in the last minutes of the window. for me, it's a no-brainer, and it's a deal that would be done. In the fact that Chelsea want him off the wage bill, they would accept. And I know you made the point, I think, Daz, around, would they sell to another or loan to another team like us? You've only got to look at Arsenal. They've been trading for years, and they've been at loggerheads in the same position for Champions League football for years. But the fact that in that situation, they want him gone because he doesn't want to stay at the club. They don't want him at the club. It would work in our favour. And that's just one example of a number of deals you could look at. Ryan Turkey, for example.
Take a gamble.
Take the gamble now.
I put on socials when it was presented to us as an option, and I was like, nah, wouldn't take it, this, that, and the other. When you're looking at the situation and you're looking, Chiesa's gone for 10 million. And he's gone to Liverpool. And you're looking at Ryan Cherky with regards to what his ability, what his skill set is. Yes, he's unpredictable. Yes, he's a maverick. And yes, he might not always fit into your style of play like you want, because he's not necessarily a workhorse. What he gives you as an output is by far way better than Miggy, by far way better than Jacob Murphy. And between the three of them, it could actually work. And for the money that you're paying, for the fee that you're paying, it could potentially be another hat and Ben Arthur situation where you bring him in for cheap and he surprises you and he takes it on. And I wasn't thinking like that 2 days ago, but this is where this is where we are now.
We get more desperate tomorrow.
We're looking at deals that we probably wouldn't have looked at before and going, actually, that deal's not bad. That's not a bad deal.
Because we're getting so later on in the window, and you're right, Pete, clubs reassess and clubs see things differently. You're telling me at the start of the window that Arsenal would have sold Adam Ramsdale for 18 million rather than to 25? Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance.
Put this up really quickly. Toonsy, the PSR was last minute in June, the last weekend, in fact, that we sold our players. Maybe the deadline day. You're giving us hope, Toonsy. You're giving us hope.
Hey, positivity is my thing, Toonsy. Where are you going?
And I have to say this because in the South Midland Mags chat, Daryl, who's been on the chat tonight and is a big follower of the channel, so big up to Daryl. I'm going to read it out. He didn't quite agree with your comments of positivity, Daz. And he says this, and I'll read it out. He put, Daz is in denial. This team as it stands, he's not
in Egypt.
There is an agreement here along the way, so I'll read it out. He said, Daz is in denial. This team as it stands now is not getting Champions League. However, if Botman and Lascelles return early and Willock and Wilson can stay fit, then top 6 is a possibility. Now, top 6 could quite easily turn into top 5. So he's not necessarily putting it out.
I was
Oh, man. Big up to Darren. Big up to Darryl, big support of the channel, and he's a top guy, and he knows his stuff on football as well. So it's great to have his opinion as well, flying in there. And the boys are watching the chat, so it's all good. It's all good.
Apologize to the chatters. I gave up on the chat when I was half an hour behind.
Chat's been going mental tonight. I started doing it, Daz, and then I was just like, I've lost it again.
We had way over 500 tonight. The chat was flying. And look, we had to prioritize, and we will always on this channel prioritize the super chat. So if you want your comments to be heard, put your super chat in. We'll come straight to it, as we've done with the likes of Toonsy and various other people that put their super chats in. Absolutely big respect to you all off the back of that.
The best bit of the show is to come now. Are you ready, Pete?
Oh, just before.
Hang on. Go on.
I was going to say, just before you go, I'm going to have to shoot, boys. I've got to go. Because it's someone's birthday tomorrow. I've got to set up all this stuff and whatever. So I do apologise. It's been brilliant. I know. You know what? Actually, I might hang around for this. But
come on.
Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. I'm really sorry we didn't come to all of your comments. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats. And listen, you never know. We could be back tomorrow with a bit of breaking news. And we all hope that we're
back tonight, yes.
And if not, let's just look forward to Sunday. Let's get them 3 points in the bag for Dazzler while he's there at St. James's. and let's try and be positive. I'm hopeful we can get some sort of deal over the line. What that looks like, I don't know, but I'm going to keep the positivity and hope we can do it. But anyway, just before I go, I'm going to listen to Pete.
Pete, take it away.
Oh God. Well, as you all know, we have and are in partnership with Manscaped. So Manscaped, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to announce that the Smooth Sack Summer is officially upon us.
Ooh.
Not Santa's sack, our summer sack. You boys know what I'm talking about. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure that you're groomed from pubes to bum. That's right, pubes to bum. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet silky smooth, shall I say. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking. Oh my God. You're throwing me under the bus. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped like us. With our exclusive offer, get 20% off and free shipping when available.
Yes.
Okay, so make sure you get on Loaded 20, get your Manscaped, and you could have soft, silky sacks just like us. Get it done.
Love it.
You'll need them for the Champions League next season. Nice one, Pete. Nice one. That is it. Oh, sure. We have to a quick shout out as well. I know Chris, you're going to run, but we just quick shout out. Yes, to dry off those silky sacks, as Pete just referred to, you will need radiator. I like it, Chris. And yes, you can contact the Radiator Shed and Russ at theradiatorshed.com. Mention Loaded 20 for 20% off. If you use, if you call the number 077-666-04112, you can get 20% off. Also, we never mention ourselves. We have our own range of merch available. So, like in mugs, different colors, sizes, everything you might need. T-shirts, different color sizes, hats. There's a load of stuff. Go check it out. The latest on our website, and that link is in the show description as well. No, that is it, boys. We are done. Hopefully not done for the transfer window yet, but we are done. Thanks everyone for watching, listening. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out, and leave us a review as well on Spotify or Amazon or Apple Music as well. Why not? While you're at it.
Can I just add in there, just as Daz has just said about the comments, and leave a comment about this show and about the kind of the show tonight in general. Just let us know, like, have we been fair with our assessments of this situation?
Yeah.
We, right from the beginning, we were quite angry and frustrated. We've tried to stay as balanced as possible and give a true reflection with giving our reflection as well. Put in the comments after the show whether you think that we've been fair in our assessment in this, because I think it's really important. We try and always give a balanced response. We're not just here being airheads and just ranting on for the sake of it. We're trying to be balanced in what we're talking about and add to the conversation that you guys in the chat have done too. So leave that comment as well, because I think it's really important for us to know that we're doing things right as a channel too. So really appreciate that if you can.
Thank you, Pete. Happy birthday summer tomorrow. Thanks everyone for joining us, and I guess it's for now. It's how'd you like that? Good night, everyone.
How you like?